From long-lost clues resurfacing to unexpected breakthroughs in forensic science, these cases remind us that justice, no matter how delayed, can still prevail. Today we are exploring the 5 gripping cases where perseverance, new technology, and relentless determination finally brought closure. Case number 5, Tanya McKinley. In the early hours of 1985, Tanya Etheridge McKinley was ringing in the new year at a local bar in Pensacola. As the celebrations quieted around 1:30 a.m., Tanya left the bar, but tragically, she vanished forever. Her body was later discovered in an empty lot, subjected to assault, strangulation, and partial undressing. Despite swift police intervention, the technology of that era couldn't analyze the DNA evidence found at the scene, and databases for comparison didn't exist. With few eyewitnesses and no solid leads, the investigation went cold. Over the next 35 years, the Pensacola Police Department relentlessly pursued every lead that surfaced, passing the case from one detective team to the next. It wasn't until advances in DNA technology, inspired by the capture of the Golden State Killer, that a glimmer of hope emerged. Using DNA recovered from the crime scene, detectives collaborated with Parabon Nanolabs to search genealogy databases. This breakthrough eventually led them to several distant relatives, ultimately pointing to Daniel Leonard Wells as the culprit. Wells, who had a record of minor offenses but had managed to avoid serious consequences, was finally identified as Tanya's murderer.
Investigators finally identified the remains of a woman found buried in a shallow grave back.
After decades of uncertainty, justice was finally served. Captain Chuck Mallett of the Pensacola Police Department reflected, "This case spanned 3 generations of detectives, but we never lost hope." Case number 4, Christy Witcher. Christy, a vibrant 24-year-old, disappeared on July 30th, 1993, from her trailer in Scottsville, Kentucky. She was last seen leaving for work at a nearby carnival, but never made it there. Initially, her family held on to hope, recalling instances when Christy had wandered off before and returned after a few weeks. As years passed without any word from Christy, her family's hope dwindled. Then, in the summer of 1995, hunters stumbled upon a tragic scene in Pulaski County, Kentucky. A young woman's body, gruesomely murdered. She had suffered a slashed throat and showed evidence of a brutal beating. The discovery shook the community, and authorities worked tirelessly to identify the victim. For months, the young woman remained unidentified until a breakthrough in 2020, when DNA from the body was matched to Christy's living relatives. The confirmation brought bittersweet closure to her family, finally knowing Christy's fate after decades of uncertainty. Despite this closure, Christy's loved ones continue to grapple with the unanswered questions surrounding her death. Case number 3, Mark Ashland. In October of 1984, the tranquil setting of Carkeek Park near Seattle was disrupted when the body of a 30-year-old man was found hanging. He carried no identification, leaving detectives with the daunting task of identifying him. Lacking any leads, they designated him John Doe, hopeful that someone would recognize him and come forward. Despite their best efforts, there was no initial breakthrough in identifying the man. His fingerprints were meticulously processed and entered into databases as they expanded over the years. Despite periodic checks, there was no match found. For over 35 years, the mystery of John Doe persisted. It wasn't until the establishment of the National Missing and Unidentified Person System, NamUs, that a pivotal lead emerged. In 2019, a family member stumbled upon a profile resembling their long-lost uncle, Mark Ashland, who had mysteriously disappeared in 1981. Verification through DNA was impossible as Mark had been laid to rest for decades without preserved samples. Instead, the family provided old letters from Mark, meticulously kept by his sister. From these letters, 2 nearly 4-decade-old fingerprints were successfully extracted. Dr. Kathy Taylor at the medical examiner's office worked diligently with the family to verify the prints against those collected since the discovery of John Doe. Finally, there was a definitive match to Mark Ashland. Relief that Mark's identity was confirmed after so many years, yet sorrow that his fate had been tragic. Closure, however, offered a sense of justice to Mark and brought peace to his family and friends. who had long hoped for answers. Case number 2. Brad. On April 7, 1959, Joseph and Elisa Bellino welcomed their fourth child, Brad, with immense joy. Despite being the youngest, Brad formed a deep bond with his two older brothers and sister through shared laughter, tears, and adventurous escapades. From a young age, Brad's insatiable curiosity drove him to seek out new experiences and explore uncharted territories. His friend, Don Templeman, recalled Brad as the mastermind behind their daring plans, cementing their friendship during their time at Boardman Center Middle School. Together, they explored every corner of their small town on bicycles, often meeting at the Boardman Mall to plan their next adventure. They shared a passion for rocks and minerals, spending hours marveling at geological wonders in a nearby shop. Weekends were filled with sleepovers and outings, from movie nights on Fridays to late-night games at Don's Applewood Acres home on Saturdays. Sundays were spent together at church, strengthening their bond further. Tragedy struck during Easter break on March 31, 1972, when Brad, 12, and Don, 11, encountered a threatening brown van during their usual explorations. Sensing danger, they rushed back to Don's house. Brad called home to stay over, but his father, Joseph, assumed he was safe. The next day, panic gripped the Bellino family as Brad remained missing. Despite Joseph's frantic search efforts and community support, no clues emerged. On April 4, 1972, sanitation worker Paul Smith discovered a young boy's body behind Isley's dairy store, dressed like Brad. Brad's cousin Tony confirmed the heartbreaking news. An autopsy revealed he had been strangled. The community mourned at a solemn funeral that united the town in grief. Unable to bear the reminders, the Bellino family left Boardman for Tennessee shortly after. Despite decades of efforts, Brad's case remained unsolved until 2001, when former police chief Jeffrey Patterson reopened it. Progress was slow until 2007, when detectives Jack Nichols and Bob Rupp took over, reinvigorating the investigation. Advances in DNA technology in 2018 led to Joseph Norman Hill being identified as a primary suspect, despite his death in 2019. Further investigation uncovered Hill's transient lifestyle and minor criminal record, but no direct ties to Brad's family were found. Mahoning County Prosecutor Gina DeGeneva reviewed the evidence, acknowledging the challenges of prosecuting a deceased suspect. In 2023, Chief Todd Worth publicly disclosed the findings, respecting the Bellino family's privacy. Brad's story remains a haunting chapter in Boardman's history, a reminder of lost innocence and unresolved justice that has left an enduring mark on the town's memory. Case number 1. Wendy Ogg. Wendy Ogg, born on February 15, 1958, lived a private life early on, focusing on raising her daughter, Charlena, while pursuing her education at McDonald's Beauty School in Bellingham. By 1978, at 29 years old, Wendy embodied determination and resilience, seeing education as a pathway to a brighter future. On April 24, 1987, Wendy's routine took a tragic turn when she left beauty school for lunch at La Paloma restaurant. Excited about meeting a man named Mike Johnson, Wendy planned a date with him later that day, enjoying their time together at a friend's house into the early hours of the night. However, Wendy never returned home, alarming her sitter, who contacted the police. Inside Wendy's residence, detectives discovered signs of a violent struggle, drying blood near her bed and suspicious stains on the sheets. Investigation soon revealed that Mike Johnson was actually Darren D. O'Neill, a criminal who vanished shortly after meeting Wendy. He was later spotted driving her car into the United States from Canada. Wendy's abandoned vehicle in Oregon yielded incriminating evidence, including bloodied pants and a fingerprint matching O'Neill's. Months passed before O'Neill was apprehended in Florida on unrelated charges and extradited to Washington State. Although convicted of other crimes, including the murder of Robin Smith, O'Neill remained silent about Wendy's fate for years. In 2015, new DNA evidence tied O'Neill conclusively to Wendy's case, confirming his involvement. Further forensic analysis in 2020 linked him directly to the blood found on the pants in Wendy's car. Finally, in October 2022, O'Neill was formally charged with Wendy's murder. This case underscores the tenacity of law enforcement, and the strides made in forensic technology, providing hope for closure and justice even decades after the crime. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, give a huge thumbs up and subscribe for more intriguing stories.